Welcome to Your Health, a podcast from the Hoosier Ag Today presents your Purdue Extension podcast network, where we connect you with practical information and trusted resources to help improve the health and well-being of our communities. I'm your host, Greg Allen, and today on Your Health, we're talking about an issue that impacts every rural road in America: farm roadway safety. You know, as planting season is in full swing, it brings more large equipment onto local roads. Safety becomes a shared responsibility between farmers operating machinery and everyday drivers traveling those same routes. And today, we'll discuss why so many crashes happen, how patience and awareness can save lives, and how trusted local organizations like Purdue Extension's Health and Human Sciences are helping build a stronger culture of safety and mutual respect in rural communities. So I am very excited today for our guest, an associate professor in the Department of Public Health at Purdue University, Laura Schwab-Reese. Laura, thank you for joining me today.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to share a little bit about my work. I'm super excited to be able to tell you more.
Well, I'm excited to learn more. Let's start at the beginning. Why don't you explain to us the role of Purdue Extension's Health and Human Sciences programs in promoting community safety and well-being?
Yeah, so I am an associate professor in the Department of Public Health. I don't actually have an extension appointment, although there's lots of faculty at Purdue who do. So some faculty at Purdue actually work directly with Extension and are out in communities doing some of this really terrific work. I am partnering with Extension, though, so we are implementing community road safety campaigns in rural communities. And so the extension educators have been able to be our kind of eyes and ears in the field, helping us understand what's needed and able to actually share the messages with the communities. So I think so many people, and your listeners probably more so than most people, but so many people don't understand how many terrific roles extension play in communities. But they're in every community in Indiana, every county, and they just have so much knowledge, not just about health and human services and sciences, but ag and community development. It's such a terrific resource we have.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Now we will get to the campaigns. But before we go there, let's talk about why farm roadway safety has become such an important topic for rural communities, especially during this time of the year.
Definitely. So we see that traffic crashes that happen between farm equipment and passenger vehicles are actually far more fatal. We see rural roadway crashes in general tend to be more fatal than crashes that happen in urban areas, but particularly if there's a farm vehicle involved, it tends to be much more serious and much more significant for the people who are involved. And planting time, harvest time, those are the times that those farm vehicles are going to be out on the road. Those are the times that people are going to be coming across them. And because they're not always out there, it can be a little bit of a different experience for people. They aren't used to driving around farm equipment, so they aren't as comfortable and as familiar with some of the safety things that they need to be doing when they're around those vehicles.
You and your team have done a lot of research in this area. What are some of the most common causes of crashes involving farm equipment and passenger vehicles?
So I'm going to take a little bit of a back step to answer this question, because I think the way that we know this is so incredibly cool. So we knew that these crashes were more serious, but we didn't know what was causing them. So a team at the University of Iowa actually partnered with farmers in Iowa to create equipment that they could attach to the vehicles that actually recorded 360 what was happening around their vehicle when they were driving. So we were able to identify specific behaviors that were happening that were unsafe, and start to say, oh, it's not just that we think, you should be doing XYZ, but it's, oh, here's actually from video evidence the times that we're seeing people drive unsafely around these equipment. So we specifically saw that it was more dangerous when people were passing So those moments when you're, swinging out around this equipment, you can't see very well, those are particularly dangerous times. We also see that people tend to follow very closely, or they can follow very closely, and that's a time that's more dangerous. And we also see that there are times that people approach these vehicles really quickly. So farm vehicles travel much more slowly than kind of the normal flow of traffic, and so if you're not paying attention, it can be really easy to come up on them really quickly. And actually, rear-ending farm equipment is one of the more common types of crashes that we see.
Wow. And I think passing is another one, and I've got a real world experience from that. I was actually shooting a safety video for Keystone Cooperative. And I was, behind a tractor. The tractor was in the road, and I was actually in the road, and I was filming with my camera. And a car flying, goes off the roadway into the grass and back around onto the roadway where I was standing and almost hit me. And I was like,
Oh my gosh.
it took my breath away, but I was
Yeah.
like, at the same time, I was like, I'm glad I got that on camera because that was dangerous. And it's exactly what we were wanting to portray.
Boy, it feels like everything that we saw as being a problem, you encapsulated in just that one experience. So I'm so glad that you're safe. I'm so glad that didn't have, catastrophic consequences. But boy, those are exactly the kinds of things that we're hoping people will avoid doing.
For sure. So you've captured from the cab of a tractor what's going on. In your opinion, why do you suppose that passenger vehicle drivers misjudge the speed or the distance of farm machinery?
So I think part of it is that they don't encounter them very often. I mean, so there are roads that tractors and other farm equipment are going to be on far more often, and those don't tend to be the roads that have a lot of people driving on them. So I think people are not very familiar with what it is to drive around them, which means that they don't recognize how slowly they move. So you're kind of used to the normal flow of traffic, and this farm vehicle is definitely not going to be traveling at that normal speed. I think one of the other problems is that they're so large. I mean, so you can generally see around other passenger vehicles, but it's very difficult to see around farm equipment. So I think those two, kind of both the lack of familiarity, the slow speed, and just the size, are part of the reasons that people are challenged to drive around them.
I am intrigued. I am certain that you got so much great data out of your research, and I'm intrigued to learn more for sure. Just out of curiosity, let's say out of 10 drivers that are around big farm vehicles, how many, what would you say the percentage of, bad decisions happen there?
Oh, that's a really good question. And I don't know that we analyze the data in that way. I really wish I could give you a firm answer. I think in general, we see that people drive more safely than they don't drive. But those times when people are not driving safely, they tend to be quite unsafe. So it's not necessarily that it's happening a lot, or that it's, even 1 in 10 people are driving unsafely around farm equipment. It's that when they're driving unsafely around farm equipment, it tends to be quite dangerous.
It only takes one, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So from the farmer's perspective, what steps can equipment operators take to improve visibility and communication with motorists?
So what's interesting is that we see that almost always the problem is actually with the passenger vehicle, not with the farm equipment. So the driver of the farm equipment is usually driving quite safely. There's not an issue there. I think there are things that they can do around signage, making sure that they have the orange triangle and other visibility equipment on the back. But for the most part, we see that our farm equipment drivers are quite safe in what they're doing. So it really is, and this is something that not me, but as a community and as people, we tend to blame the farm equipment, that like, oh, they're on the road, it's so frustrating. But it actually is the non-farmers that are the problem, which is why we have started this campaign, because we first started really talking to farmers, assuming, like so many, that was more of the problem. But really, it's a collective problem. It's everybody in the community working together to make sure that everyone gets home safely. We call the campaign that we're doing "We're on this road together," as kind of a reminder, or as a putting it very front and center that it's all of us. It can't be just the farmers. It can't be just the passenger vehicle drivers. So we're in it together. Let's do it safely.
I love it. We're on the road together. Talking with Laura Schwab-Reese, we're going to continue our conversation with her, and we're going to find out about the very impactful road safety campaign and what inspired her team to create the campaign when we return to Your Health.
Starting conversations about mental health with family and with farmers is very difficult because it's not a subject that's always been a part of normal conversation. Really just opening a conversation or checking in with someone saying, hey, how's it going? How are you doing really? What are you feeling? Are you feeling overwhelmed? What are some ways that I can help take some of the stress off of you? But there are always ways that you can help. Just providing a little bit of extra support, because many times we see families that tend to struggle with keeping up with everything that's happening. Reach out and make sure that everything that family feels supported. That's a major way that people can help a farm family during busy seasons.
Farmer suicide rates are significantly higher than the general population. That's why Purdue Extension offers the Purdue Farms Trust Team to offer help when it's needed most.
And we're back with Your Health with Laura Schwab-Reese, talking about farm roadway safety. So, okay, Laura, tell us about this road safety campaign.
Yeah, so what we found in some of the earlier research is that it's really important that safety messages come from people who the community trust. And as academics, as people who could be perceived as sitting in that ivory tower, I'm not necessarily the person that people trust the most. But what we learned is that people like extension educators, people who are in communities, those people do tend to be trusted. So what we did is we put together materials that could be used by extension educators and really anyone in communities who are interested in rural road safety to share these messages. So I mentioned there were the three most dangerous types of driving. So the passing, the driving very quickly and not slowing down enough as they approach the vehicle. We created graphics and materials to help share those messages. So there's a whole assortment of swag that the extension educators have been passing out, everything from air fresheners that go in cars to coasters that are in cars. So people have, generally we picked, traffic related, car related swag, so that when people are in their car, they see, oh yeah, these are the kinds of things I need to be doing or not doing when I'm driving around that equipment. And what we've seen so far is that in many communities, it's been really well received. And we think part of that is because those extension educators are so trusted in communities. So we're really excited. We're just about to collect the last round of data and see really how communities received these materials. But I'm really excited to be able to share in hopefully 3, 4, 5 months the kinds of things that we found from the campaign. And then our goal is to actually make the materials available to everyone. So we put together a toolkit. It has some information about rural road safety and how to talk to people about rural road safety, but it also includes all of the materials that our educators used. So everyone who has an interest in rural road safety will be able to do this kind of campaign in their community.
Maybe like a celebrity endorsement. Have you tried Shaq?
I love that.
Guy's
Oh, we didn't think of that,
pizza.
But I can
Get Shaq on
That's
the whole
actually-
campaign.
In one of the communities that we implemented the campaign, they attached stickers to pizza boxes. So
Oh,
it's not Shack Pizza, but
right.
we did have our own little, pizza crossover.
That's awesome. Why, in your opinion, do you think that safety messages are more effective when they come from like trusted local voices?
I think a lot of that is because it's hard to find good quality information now. I think we are inundated with information through the media, through the internet, through all sorts of aspects of our phones that just isn't very trustworthy. So it can be really hard to filter through. I read this thing on the internet, or so and so posted this on Facebook, and really not know if that's true, if it's kind of true, if it's completely false. So people who you trust are people who you can trust to get information from. So that's, I think, the connection, that if you trust this person in general, you're far more likely to trust the information that they're providing. And one of the things that we really appreciate about Extension is not only are they a known quantity or a known figure in the community, but they're also a known trusted figure. Like, they're known for having good quality information. They're known for being really helpful. I can't even count the number of ways that Extension has talked about, extending this campaign and all of these things. So it's not just that they're in the community; it's that they're known and they're a genuine source of good information.
I feel like community organizations on top of like extension offices would
Mm-hmm.
be a good way to spread these resources, like schools, local governments.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, do you think that organizations like that could reinforce the safety messages?
I think it would be terrific if as many people as we can have reinforcing safety messages, the better. So we've also thought about things like Farm Bureau or insurance companies that do a lot of insurance for rural communities, those potentially being both places that are very interested in keeping drivers safe and also who are already, known quantities in communities. But I think, I would love if everyone in communities, but particularly those organizations that are kind of structural, that are known, I would love if they were all sharing these messages.
Shaq does some endorsement for insurance companies like the General. I mean, maybe
Well,
I'm saying I
we
think
may
there's
be
a
able to
connection
find
here.
this
That's what I'm saying.
shack. I don't
So
know if you've seen. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know if you've seen the Shack gummies, but it feels like maybe we could have some tractor gummies, and this is our crossover.
I love that idea. Anything to get Shaq on board. I think we're onto
Right?
something here. Tell me what inspired, you touched on this a little bit, but let's get a little bit more into the weeds on what inspired your team to create this road safety campaign.
So I think we're very much data nerds. So we're always out there trying to find the data that shows where we can have the most impact. But I will say that everyone on the team has a rural background. So I grew up in a very rural area in Iowa. I had experiences as I was learning to drive and as I was being driven around as a kiddo, coming up on equipment too quickly or, maybe passing not as safely as I should have. So I think it was something that we were both from a data perspective aware of, but also from a personal, like, we were those people driving around farm equipment. We were the people who were in communities that, had fatalities or had serious crashes as a result of
Yeah.
these things. So I think it's both we have lived these lives in rural communities, and also, we really wanted to go where the data says we can help the most.
I think one interesting part of your research is that you focused on the community education aspect instead of only like engineering or enforcement. Why did you decide to go that route?
Yeah, so there's actually been a lot of really terrific work that's already been done in enforcement and in equipment and in engineering. So it's kind of a both and, where that work has been done, it has been phenomenal, but at the same time, you still have humans as part of that interaction. And there's only so much you can do to engineer around a human. So we decided we needed, and there's good evidence to suggest that you need safe equipment, you need safe cars, you need safe farm equipment, and you need people to use those things safely. So we're hoping to cross over from the, you've done this really great work to make things safer. Now let's help the humans know they need to actually use it in safe ways.
Free will is such a tricky thing, isn't it? Just ask God.
It
He
is.
knows.
Yeah, man. Humans are pretty consistently the challenge in my work. Figuring out how to
That's
how to get the
that's across
humans.
the board, I think, Laura. Across the board. If there's one message that you hope drivers remember after our conversation today, what would that be?
So I'm going to circle back to those three things. So it's not quite one message, but they're tiny messages. So hopefully I can sneak it in there. So avoid passing, leave more space, and slow down. Those are the three things that will be most impactful in keeping drivers safe and also keeping farmers safe.
I love it. And how can people find more information on your work?
Yeah, so you can go to the University of Iowa website. The University of Iowa College of Public Health is where this program was originally based. And if you search On This Road Together, you'll find the website that has the contact information for the original team. It also has a little bit about the campaign. You can also reach out to me. I'm at Purdue University. The email address is lschwabr at purdue.edu. You can also Google me. My contact information is all over the internet, so feel free to reach out to me, and I would be happy to share or happy to add you to the list of folks we can share the materials with once they're ready.
Well, we are glad that you're available, but it's also a scary thing being all over the internet. Of course, we all are.
Yeah, I do a lot of community work. I think it's really important that academics don't sit on, an academic campus and do their work in silos. So I spend a lot of time out in communities, really making sure that the work that we're doing matters and helps make life better.
It does. Rest assured. Laura Schwab-Reese, thank you so much for joining me today. This was very informative.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Our thanks today to Laura Schwab-Reese for joining us and sharing valuable insight on farm roadway safety. Whether you're behind the wheel of a tractor or a passenger vehicle, staying alert, staying patient, and staying respectful can make all the difference in preventing tragedies on rural roads. You can learn more about Purdue Extension programs and community resources through your local Purdue Extension or by visiting the Extension website. Thanks for joining us on Your Health. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this out so others can know the importance of road safety, especially this time of the year. I'm your host, Greg Allen, reminding you to stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you next time.